heute von Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita und we speak in English, I think. No?
Wir sprechen alle Deutsch, aber...
Alle Deutsch? Aber hinten...
In Departments.
Ja, genau. Also ist es Englisch okay? Ja. Melina. Yeah, good. Then we will speak in English. So, we are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi-lila, chapter 9. Chapter has the title, let me check again. The tree of devotional service. So, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is a compilation of reports of activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates who brought this Hare Krishna consciousness, this Krishna consciousness movement to the general public some 500 years ago. And in this book we find practically historical record of his activities and his character, his dealings with his associates and with other people. And in this particular chapter, there is a description of how this so-called tree of devotional service is being established in the society. It's being spoken about the roots, about the trunk, about the branches. Everything is a symbolic representation of certain personalities who were serving as the roots, as the trunk, as the branches, meaning according to the level of their importance, of their position, they had special functions in this spreading of this devotional service movement, of this Krishna consciousness movement. So, we are at text 36, is it correct?
Also 5 and 6, please read 5 also.
35 and 36, okay.
And 6 on the board.
36 on the board, okay. Ekala utkhana dite khaya parishrama keha paya keha paya rachem mana brahma. Okay. So, translation. It would certainly be a very laborious task to pick the fruits and distribute them alone, and still I suspect that some would receive them and others would not. So this is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaking to himself, thinking to himself practically, that he established this tree of devotional service in society, meaning an object built out of his close associates, and this tree is starting to bear fruits. But these fruits, who would like to guess which fruits are these of the tree of devotional service?
Fruits of love of God?
Fruits of love of God, yes, exactly. It's fruits of love of God, meaning love. It's the most elevated state of consciousness, where one is in a state of pure love, meaning one is in love with everything and everyone, but this is only possible if one is in love with God. Then this manifests in this way. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, just him alone taking the task of distributing these fruits of love of God, it's would not be very effective. Because some will get it and some will not. It's just one person. So, next text which we have on the board elaborates further on that. Ataiva ami agya dilun sabakare. Ataiva ami agya dilun sabakare. Yahantahan prima phala dehayare tare. Yahantahan prima phala dehayare tare. Ataiva amyagya dilun sabakare. Yahantahan prima phala dehayare tare. Ataiva amyagya dilun sabakare. Yahantahan prima phala dehayare tare. Ataiva, therefore, ami, I, agya, order, dilun, give, sabakare, to everyone, yahan, wherever, tahan, everywhere, prima phala, the fruit of love of God, deha, distribute, yare, anyone, tare, everyone. Translation. Therefore, I order every man within this universe to accept this Krishna consciousness movement and distribute it everywhere. Purport. In this connection, there is a song sung by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Enichi ausadi maya nashi baralagi harinama mahamantra lao tumi magi. Bhaktivinoda Prabhu charana padiya se harinama mantra la magiya. The Sankirtan movement has been introduced by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just to dispel the illusion of Maya, by which everyone in this material world thinks himself to be a product of matter and therefore to have many duties pertaining to the body. Actually, the living entity is not his material body. He is a spirit soul. He has a spiritual need to be eternally blissful and full of knowledge, but unfortunately, he identifies himself with the body, sometimes as a human being, sometimes as an animal, sometimes a tree, sometimes an aquatic, sometimes a demigod, and so on. Thus, with each change of body, he develops a different type of consciousness with different types of activity, and thus becomes increasingly entangled in material existence, transmigrating perpetually from one body to another. Under the spell of Maya, or illusion, he does not consider the past or future, but is simply satisfied with the short lifespan that he has gotten for the present. To eradicate this illusion, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has brought the Sankirtana movement, and he requests everyone to accept and distribute it. A person who is actually a follower of Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur must immediately accept the request of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by offering respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet, and thus beg from him the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If one is fortunate enough to beg from the Lord this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, his life is successful. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Verse again. Ataeva amihagya dilum savakare yahantahan prima phala dehayaritare. Therefore, I order every man within this universe to accept this Krishna consciousness movement and distribute it everywhere. So, what first strikes the mind is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling in the actual verse, he's telling that he's speaking of distributing the prema phala, the fruit of love of Godhead. But Srila Prabhupada translates this to Krishna consciousness movement. No? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaks of fruit of love of God, which needs to be distributed. And Srila Prabhupada says to distribute Krishna consciousness movement. So one could find a irregularity here, or mistranslation maybe, or some speculation or something like this. But actually, the Krishna consciousness movement, as we know it, or maybe better to say, as it was originally intended, it is meant for bringing one to the state of love of God and to distribute it also. This is a significant realization, and Srila Prabhupada is further, establishing his point and condensing this concept into one aspect or one object maybe. And this is the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Now the main object of the Krishna consciousness movement, the main objective is to distribute the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because this Hare Krishna Mahamantra is another form of pure love of God. This is the point in this purport. And this has to be realized and has to be understood also properly. At the end, Srila Prabhupada says that if one is fortunate enough to beg from the Lord this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, his life is successful. Beg meaning in this regard that one is one's petition of begging was heard of the Lord, and the Lord actually is giving the charity, this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But one would think, okay, but what is so special about it? It's a mantra, it's written there on the board, everybody is singing it, we know about it, we can read it in every book of Srila Prabhupada. What is there to beg? Well, there are at least two levels of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and one is the alphabet, which is very openly available, meaning the words itself, and another is the actual Mahamantra, the actual which can be in this alphabet or also not. Now this is the point. Because the words which we are seeing in this reality, they can be like empty shells also, and belonging to our perceivable reality. Or they can be filled with the actual essence of the mantra. And this is not something one can control. The Lord can appear when He wants, like right now. And He can appear in the Mahamantra or not. This is according to His will. So, this is the meaning of what Srila Prabhupada is telling here in the last passage of the purport. And at the beginning he is displaying that Sankirtan movement has been introduced by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just to dispel the illusion of Maya. And what is this illusion? Yes, that we identify with this material body. And our thinking process is connected to the needs of this body because of that. No? We think ourselves a product of matter, and therefore we have many duties to pertaining to the body. But it is not the fact. We are not the body. We are consciousness. And the consciousness and the body are two different things, which can very easily be proven. Because we can be completely somewhere else with our consciousness as where the body is. We are not aware in this situation of the body. Either it is meditation or some intense focus or even sleep. These are all situations when we are dreaming, for instance. We are somewhere else. We are not in the body. We are not aware of the body. And there is another interesting statement. The spirit soul has a spiritual need. A spiritual need to be eternally blissful. So our need to be happy is spiritual. This is interesting concept. It is therefore legitimate. It is not something we should throw away, discard. But it is something we are supposed to be pursuing. But we need to know how to do it. This is the secret. So, changing different bodies, consciousness going through different species of life, and in these different bodies, one gets increasingly entangled into the matter because one has so much association with this matter that it becomes somehow part of oneself, and one is unable to distinguish between one's spiritual nature and the material nature. Very, very interwoven. So, another point, another aspect of Maya or illusion is that we get satisfied in any position in which we are. Even though we are suffering, even we are enjoying even this suffering sometimes, defending our suffering and not wanting to give it up. But this is another aspect of illusory energy. So this way we are trapped in our present situation until the death rips us out of the situation and we transmigrate to another situation. So Srila Prabhupada explains after he has elaborated on this problem. Therefore, a person who is somehow fortunate means intelligent enough, will try to do something about it, try to get to a better situation than one is right now in this material identification, and try to come to the original consciousness of spiritual consciousness of eternal bliss and knowledge. So, and for doing that, one needs certain aspect, certain state of the heart. The heart in material consciousness is in one state, but the heart can change in another state. And this is elaborately explained in the Vedic literature, but in this connection, we will just mention that Srila Prabhupada is, actually Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is wanting to distribute love of God because of this reason, that this is the love, this is the state of love, of pure love. Meaning, pure love means not just for the objects or subjects connected to one's body or one's immediate environment, like family, society, species, like this, no? But for everybody and everything, without consideration of connection or not connection to oneself, but just because all of us or all of them are connected to the Lord in a loving way, on the deepest level. No, this kind of love is necessary. So this is the state of the heart we want to achieve, because in this state there is no question of illusion anymore. Illusory energy does not have power over us, and we are radiating in our own position, natural position, which is position of eternity and bliss, being very, very happy, and also knowing one's relationship to the Supreme Soul, to the Lord. This is also very important because there is a in-between stage where one just knows oneself as a spirit soul, but does not know the relationship to the Supreme Soul, one's origin. And it's a preliminary step, let's say, which may also not be permanent, because without this connection, knowing one's relationship to the Supreme Soul, one can even fall back from the stage of self-realization back to the material consciousness. This is how the acharyas explain this. So, and now we have here Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is given as a means, on one way, as a means to achieve this goal, to purify our heart, to shatter the shackles which are holding our heart in a tight grip, and to make us remember who we really are. And on the other hand, it can give us also the revelation of our relationship to the Supreme Soul, to the Lord. This is why Srila Prabhupada is stressing in this translation and purport the Krishna consciousness movement, which is being established for this very purpose, and
said, our thinking process is connected with the needs of the body. For me, this is something personally very important. If the body is getting older, it's more challenging with the body. Or you, for instance, you can eat only little. You cannot take such much food anymore, and that means you need to learn to tolerate more some inconveniences and some austerity, and how the holy name is my main nourishment, so to say, and how can I come to this point, or can make a little advancement that through the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mara mantra I can elevate my consciousness about this, above these needs of the body, so that I can be peaceful and satisfied, although I feel the needs of the body, but that I can take so good shelter of the holy name, that these needs of the body are more in the background and not so much in the foreground.
What comes to my mind to this question is that the quality of our chanting, the level of presence of the Lord in the Mahamantra. So as long as we are bodily conscious, even though chanting, this means that there is room for improvement of means that we are not yet experiencing the actual presence of the name in the Mahamantra. Because if this is there, while we are chanting, we will forget everything else. It will be so overwhelming that there will be no room for the troubles of the body. And I think this is a challenge for every one of us, to come to that point, to strive for that actually. One can say this is a barometer. If I'm conscious of the body, then chanting is yet to be improved. Does not necessarily mean the quantity of chanting, but it means the quality. That it is so absorbing, so overwhelming, the experience, the nice experience, the beautiful experience, that we are just, there is no question of being aware of the body. It is probably the highest stage, about that. But it is something good to know about, because then we have something to strive for. This is on that level. Does this make sense somehow?
Yeah, I totally agree. That is always good that I have some, if japa had for my level, quite good quality, then I feel more the satisfaction of the soul. So if I don't feel this that much, then I look elsewhere for prasada or and you look elsewhere to get this satisfaction. But if I really had some days, some really satisfying rounds, then it's different.
Yeah, it's different. And on the other hand also, well, this is one aspect, the highest aspect, but on the other hand, we need to treat our body as a sacred instrument. Not as something which is a burden, but something which was given to us with a purpose, and this purpose is not punishment. This is an important realization. This is not punishment, it has a good purpose for our elevation, actually. And if we are aware of that, then we can understand that the bodily needs, the basic needs which make it healthy and vital, have to be met. It is part of spiritual sadhana, practically. Because if the body does not have basic needs met, it will create disturbance. And then it is more difficult to, how to say, to use this body for spiritual elevation. No? So basic needs are, Krishna is mentioning this in Bal Govinda, that eating, sleeping and working have to be balanced. Whoever eats or sleeps too much or too little cannot become a yogi, meaning cannot connect with me, meaning cannot experience the full potency of the name, of the Maha Mantra. So, especially sleeping is being often in our society being valued as something, I don't know, not so desirable. But one has to know for one's own body what it needs to function normally. And this is different from body to body, depending on constitution, depending on age, depending on gender. No, these things are different, not for the same for everyone. Some people can wonderfully around with 6 hours of sleep. Some need, for the same performance, they need 8 hours of sleep, and this is their minimum. And so one needs to become a bit of a scientist of one's own needs and what it works, because if these basic needs are not met properly, and again, meeting basic needs of the body is sacred work, because then sadhana can be successful. Then one will experience problems on all levels, and possibly even a break. How to say how to say one's ascension will be slow down, like this. So this is very, very important to find out these basic needs of one's body. I need so much sleep. If I sleep that much, it's too little. If I sleep that much, it's too much. So something in between, and eating the same. And then very often, if the body gets what it needs, if the needs of the body are met, then also many problems disappear, because the body has wonderful, actually divine ability to regenerate. This is happening mostly in sleep. Now there is nothing which can compensate for this sleep, for enough sleep. Food, you can go for some time without food, just drink water or eat just a little. But sleep, it's not so, you cannot compensate for it actually. So it's very, very important. So, anything else? Thank you very much. Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembly of devotees.
His grace